The leadership at Glanbia has finally decided to join Team Overhaul Glanbia Performance Nutrition that I have been advocating for through a bunch of content that I've created since the beginning of 2019. So Glanbia has just released their full year 2019 earnings. So I want to make sure I break down all of those numbers for you guys. I also included a bunch of the presentation slides so you guys have some visuals so you guys can follow along with some of the numbers. I'm going to be adding my own commentary, my own insights based around my perspective on Glanbia. But let's just kind of jump in first around just the overall portfolio's revenue. And their revenue for the full year of 2019 was $4.274 billion. And you're also going to see that I did the conversion from euros to dollars just because the majority of the people that are going to be watching this video are from the United States. So it's just kind of ease of comparativeness to maybe some of the other videos that I did. That number, the 4.274 billion, was up on a constant currency basis of 16.6% year over year. And what kind of comprised that 16.6% growth was they had 9.9% growth coming from some of their acquisitions. Those acquisitions were Watson and Slimfast. From a volume perspective, it was basically flat. There was up, I think, 0.1%. And then they were able to pass price increases onto their customer, and that helped growth 6.6%. So pretty straightforward in terms of like a CPG conglomerate. Those numbers are on the high end in terms of the growth rates based around the categories in which Glanbia is in, but a lot of them are seeing flat volume growth. They were able to pass on some price increases, and they're also seeing growth if they are active in mergers and acquisitions currently. So not all that different if you're thinking about just the way that that growth is kind of comprised. But Glanbia is much different than other CPG conglomerate portfolios like a Kellogg's or a Hershey's. And let me kind of explain a little bit to you guys. They are broken up into two segments. If you're not all that familiar with Glanbia, the first division that I kind of want to talk about, and one that I don't necessarily cover all that often, is the Glanbia Nutritionals section. And this is made up of their US cheese business and then also their nutritional solutions segment. And this makes up $2.77 billion, currently about 65% of the total revenue of Glanbia. This was actually up 19.9% year over year with volume increases of 5.5%. The Watson acquisition helped them 3.6%, and they had positive pricing from higher dairy markets that kind of came up to 10.8%. So that's what that 19.9% kind of comprised of. So those numbers seem really strong, maybe too strong. And I know that's kind of a weird thing to say. You can't really be too strong, but I'm kind of thinking about this in the terms of the two segments. If you remember the first numbers when I'm talking about the portfolio, the wholly owned part of the portfolio, and then we're talking about the first segment, and then we're going to be talking about the second segment, the one that I talk about a lot, Glanbia Performance Nutrition, you'll start to see, if you could do some quick math, that there might be a little bit of issue here on that side of the business. And for those that might not be all that aware, Glanbia Performance Nutrition is kind of cut up into three sections. You have the performance nutrition section. These are the consumer brands that you might know. They are Optimum Nutrition, you have BSN, you have American Bodybuilding or ABB, and you have Isopure. Then there is the lifestyle brands, which is Slimfast that they recently acquired. You have Think, which used to be ThinkThin, and then you also have Amazing Grass. And then thirdly, they have an international section, which is NutriAmino, and then also a direct-to-consumer site and private label called Body and Fit. Now, Glanbia Performance Nutrition saw revenues grow 11%. Great, right? I mean, 11% would be something that we would all want to attain, especially when you have a revenue base of $1.504 billion, which makes up about 35% of the total revenue. But let's break that into smaller parts to make sure we understand kind of what's driving that. 20.6% growth is coming from the acquisition of Slimfast. So we're kind of already in trouble right there if we're only talking about 11% overall growth. Then you have a volume decrease of 9%, and then you have a price decrease of 0.6%. So they were able to kind of pass some of that price increases in the second half of 2019, but it didn't totally make up for the issues they had with pricing on the first half of 2019. But let's break down Glanbia Performance, those sections, a little bit more into kind of some new categories that I'll talk a little bit later about in the video. They are breaking this down a little bit further for us in the North American performance nutrition category, the North American lifestyle category, and then also the international category. So firstly, with the North American performance nutrition category, this is 39% of the total of Glanbia Performance Nutrition, or about $593 million. This is basically Optimum Nutrition, and the rest of the brands are struggling. Optimum Nutrition is still growing at the mid single digit year-over-year pace. And I'll kind of explain a little bit more about Optimum Nutrition towards the end of this video. They're also kind of working on some SKU rationalization right now. They have just bloated SKUs. They don't need all of them at this point in terms of like what the current market demands are and competition. Then BSN and Isopure will get a more targeted to a specific kind of a channel product consumer alignment to make sure that they can survive and be able to get the right resources within Glanbia Performance Nutrition. And additionally, Glanbia Performance Nutrition will exit the majority of their contract manufacturing business during the second half of 2020 and also 2021, which this basically accounts for about 5% of the total Glanbia Performance Nutrition sales in 2019. Now, jumping into the North American lifestyle category, this is 29% of the total of Glanbia Performance Nutrition, or about $432 million in revenue this year. Slimfast has been the star with double-digit growth in 2019. They did make some commentary around Think, the rebrand, and their ready-to-eat products. They've shown some good momentum, even though they've kind of struggled with getting that to attract customers and make sure they're getting the right new customers in the funnel to kind of expand that brand away from kind of the ThinkThin diet-only perception with consumers. And then Amazing Grass, they're kind of still aligning that within the plant-based trend, and they're saying that that is performing well. Now, thinking about the international business at Glanbia, kind of also the kind of direct-to-consumer offering in which they have their Body and Fit. This is 32% of the total Glanbia Performance Nutrition sales, or $479 million. This is split evenly between the European markets and then kind of the rest of the world. In the European markets, they're saying UK growth is good, but the Western markets are kind of offsetting that growth with losses from the shift to digital sales, and they're addressing that with Body and Fit. And Body and Fit accounted for about 6% of total Glanbia Performance Nutrition sales, delivered revenue growth with its updated platform and expansion of markets served. So they're seeing the Body and Fit, the platform, and really thinking that's going to be what is going to help them in a lot of the European market, and quite honestly the rest of the world, depending on kind of how they structure that and which markets that they can serve best across that platform. The rest of the world, they're saying Asia and Oceania has growth, but it was offset by challenges in Brazil, which they're saying is mostly around the foreign exchange rate right now. Middle East, which they're saying is mostly political, and then India, which has foreign exchange issues, and then also import tariff kind of issues right now that they're trying to overcome. And they're saying they're also going to kind of go through a huge SKU rationalization across all their markets, making sure they're simplifying this and making sure that they're supporting the high growth and also high margin products within their portfolio. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, they're kind of getting on team, overhaul Glanbia Performance Nutrition, and they announced, because of kind of the less than great performance in 2019 with the portfolio kind of outside of a few of the brands. They're saying they need to undergo a comprehensive review, and they're going to make sure that they are structuring and aligning their business to be positioned appropriately for 2020. And this might seem very similar to the things that I've been talking about for over a year right now. And I think that it's kind of important for me to just kind of remind people maybe what my plan was, what I thought maybe was a good idea for Glanbia to kind of look at. First thing that I was talking about was a comprehensive review around the Glanbia Performance Nutrition's brand portfolio. So what kind of encompassed that side of a comprehensive review would have been around product development, SKU rationalization, trying to figure out what to keep, what to innovate, put the right mix of products in the right brands for the right channel, and making sure you were defining all of the kind of brand proposition stories, everything around the positioning of each brand to make sure that they are best situated for a targeted 2020 world where you need to really understand who you are, what you stand for, and which customers you're going to be speaking to. Because if a customer can't understand within a few seconds if it's for them or not, they're going to quickly move on to the next thing. And these things would essentially create a bunch of chain reactions that would, kind of create a bunch of different decisions that would kind of need to be made at Glanbia Performance Nutrition, including maybe adding new brands if there's some attractive acquisitions out there, or actually divesting of properties that might be cannibalizing other brands, especially kind of the issue you're having right now with Optimum Nutrition and BSN in the market, and the sports nutrition kind of performance nutrition market right now. Secondly, a part of this plan was around just looking at Glanbia Performance Nutrition's international strategy. So really kind of breaking down what is the sales strategy, how are you going to market in each one of these regions or specific countries, making sure that those things are all aligned, SKU rationalizations, making sure you have the right mix of products for the right countries, regions, the right manufacturing agreements, if it's in country, if it's in a region that's best suited for producing products and importing those products to certain areas, just kind of going through that review, making sure that everything's aligned correctly. Thirdly was around Glanbia Performance Nutrition, the team as a whole, just making sure they had a much stronger digital and creative kind of team members, because that is essentially where this is all kind of going. You need to make sure that you have the right skills in-house, especially for a active nutrition portfolio that's worth about $1.5 billion. Fourthly was around Glanbia Nutritional's partner pricing, making sure everybody was aligned correctly, making sure that the pricing was going to create a competitive advantage for Glanbia's performance nutrition brands. There's no reason why they shouldn't have an extra $3 or $4 in every product worth margin that they can utilize for customer acquisition, but it doesn't seem like they are fully aligned from kind of A to Z within the whole Glanbia portfolio. And then finally was around the nutritional solutions, kind of go-to-market, exclusive offerings, making sure that they have the most innovation for the cheapest price and giving them the access to them early before they kind of sold it off to everybody else, and making sure that they did have exclusive experiences, things that they can build into their products that they could get a head start on. And I mean, that is the point of having this fully integrated business, is to create competitive advantages. And it doesn't seem like at this point that Glanbia has even thought about doing any of that. But let's see what Glanbia came up with. What was their plan? What did they kind of come up with their comprehensive review of their business? So first off, they're going to split the business into segments, which I kind of alluded to earlier. They're going to have the North American performance segment, you're going to have the North American lifestyle segment, and then you're going to have the international segment, which kind of will also include the direct-to-consumer one, because at this point, they only own the Body and Fit direct-to-consumer platform. This will help them split their teams up into kind of consumer motivations and path to purchase differences. Though I don't believe that this is all that difficult to be able to balance all of these different things, it seems as if they do need to make sure that they can kind of create teams that maybe are singularly focused on the difference between performance and lifestyle, and then maybe also performance and lifestyle in the international kind of context. So they're going to be hiring new talent in each of those departments to make sure that everybody has a fresh set of perspectives and talents, resources for this new kind of split into different business segments. Glanbia Performance Nutrition will prioritize Optimum Nutrition, and it's $655 million in global revenue on the performance side, and then Slimfast, and it's about $325 million global revenue on the lifestyle side. These will both continue to move into stronger platform plays that will encompass many ready to eat, ready to drink categories throughout the food and beverage CPG retail channels. Glanbia Performance Nutrition's international will focus mostly around Optimum Nutrition and its direct-to-consumer platform, Body and Fit. The Body and Fit direct-to-consumer platform is the key path to growth in the online channel in Europe, as well as providing digital capability, which will be leveraged on a global basis. Glanbia Performance Nutrition has also established a group-wide project to drive margin improvement in 2020. They're saying they want to get 200 basis points of overall margin improvement, which is 2%. And they're saying they're going to simplify and exit low-margin business. This will be achieved via SKU rationalization of the lowest performing products, which has already kind of commenced, they're saying, has already kind of started. And this will have a minimal impact on net sales. Makes total sense. Most of the sales usually are coming from a few products. So it makes sense that you can definitely cut a lot of low performing products. Glanbia Performance Nutrition will also exit the majority of their U.S. contract manufacturing business, like I said, in the second half of 2020 and into 2021. They'll also look at supply chain optimization globally, encompassing a review of the mix of owned and contract manufacturing. And then finally, they're going to be refining their approach to innovation to drive demand for higher margin opportunities across the branded portfolio. So how did these look comparable to what I've been talking about for, over a year at this point? Kind of the same, right? But what are kind of some of my final thoughts on Glanbia? It honestly sounds like they're saying the right things. I don't really have much problems in terms of the communication of the plan and kind of what they're going to be undertaking in terms of review and also kind of putting this all into place. The devil is always in the details of these massive kind of plans, and execution is going to be key. So here's my kind of thesis on crisis overall. When I'm thinking about crisis, when I'm working with clients, I always kind of think about this in the context of bad companies are destroyed by crisis. Good companies survive those crisis times, and great companies improve during crisis. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to help support me, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button on this video. If this is the first time you've been introduced to my videos, would love for you guys to be a part of my community by subscribing to my channel. I upload several videos just like this weekly. And if you guys want to connect further outside of this platform, I do include all of my social media links down below. I just want to thank you guys again for your time. Hopefully I gave you some value in return, and we'll see you guys on the next video.